Welcome to Hope Helps. My name is Joan Faulkner, and I have the honor of serving as Hope's president and CEO. Our last Interfaith Coalition meeting of the year was replaced with Hope sponsoring a Seminole County partnership panel. There are many nonprofits in Seminole County, but for the sake of time, we're starting with 6 on the panel: Hope Helps, Christian Help, Habitat for Humanity, Rescue Outreach Mission, Seminole County Public Schools Families in Need Program, and the Sharing Center, with board member, administrator, and health officer for Seminole County Health Department, Dr. Ethan Johnson, as our moderator. This panel was created to help provide awareness to our community, particularly Seminole County, as to not only what we do as nonprofits, but how we serve in collaboration. Hope has built and maintained a strong reputation as an exceptional partner, consistently initiating and fostering effective collaborations. This success is underpinned by our long-term staff, excellence in volunteer management, and deep partnerships with other agencies. We fundamentally believe that we cannot and should not do this work alone. Our singular focus is to maximize the collective impact we make on the families we serve. We're pleased to feature a staff panel today with representatives from our partner agencies. The full event includes attendance from a distinguished group of CEOs, elected officials, leaders of Hope's Interfaith Coalition, and members of the Hope Board of Directors and staff. Thank you for joining us to learn more about our collaborative work and for your continued support.
My name is Logan Landry Jennings, Development Manager at Hope Helps. In 2008, Hope, along with an array of churches and faith groups in Seminole County, joined forces to create Hope's Interfaith Coalition, or IFC, a grassroots initiative that cooperatively and compassionately addresses poverty, homelessness prevention, and food insecurity in our community. IFC faith groups work together to help underprivileged members of the community and bring positive change by listening carefully, thinking outside the box, developing viable solutions, and acting intentionally. This unified approach has strengthened the community's support network by reducing duplication of services and enhancing access to resources for those in need.
All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. We did start just like 5 or so minutes late, so we might run over a tiny bit. So if anyone needs to leave at 1, we won't be offended. Feel free to leave, but we might just run a little bit over. So to start, I'm going to introduce our moderator, Dr. Ethan Johnson, Florida Department of Health in Seminole County, and Hope board member. Dr. Ethan Johnson has served as the administrator for the Florida Department of Health in Seminole County since August of 2023. He is also the interim administrator of the Florida Department of Health in Lake County. Outside of work, he enjoys personal training, volunteering at his church, Jesus Church in Port Orange, and spending time with his family and serving on Hope Helps Board of Directors. Thank you so much, Ethan.
Thank you. When Joan asked me to moderate, I told her it'd be an honor to moderate this board. Serving the community in the ways that these organizations do is very near and dear to my heart, so I'm happy to be here today. Really quickly, before we get into introductions for the panel, I did want to set the tone just by mentioning, which many of you know, although we know Seminole County has many thriving communities, it's a very resource-dense area. We have a great school system. We have a relatively high median income compared to some of the neighboring areas. We still have 33% of households that fall within that ALICE population, so that's asset limited income constrained employed. In layman's terms, it's about 60,000 households that live below the poverty line but don't make enough money to be able to afford their basic needs around housing and food and transportation. And I set the tone with that just to kind of calibrate where we are and the reason why we have these wonderful organizations as well as many others that aren't represented today, and the importance of these organizations working together to kind of accomplish the goals of taking care of the welfare of Seminole County residents, families, individuals. So we're really happy to have you all here. For starters, can we just start with a brief 30-second introduction? You can give us your name, title, the location of your organization, and then your mission statement.
Good afternoon. I'm Patricia Hanau. I'm the Director of Client Programs at Hope Helps right here in Oviedo. I am delighted to be here with you today. And I've been with them over 5 years, and I have a background in clinical social work. And we're just really here. Our mission is reducing and preventing hunger and homelessness in Seminole County and the greater area.
Good afternoon. My name is Welton James. I'm the Relationship Manager at Christian Health. Our mission is to prevent homelessness by helping people find work, offering spiritual encouragement. At the same time, we also do our best to reduce expenses. What makes me significant is the fact that 17 years ago, I was a client of Christian Health. I was a father coming home every night, and the family was looking at me with great anticipation. Did you find a job today? And the answer kept being no. And thank God for Christian Health. After 15 years with a company, I decided to come back to volunteer and ended up with a job.
I'm Hilaria Nunez, and I serve as the Director of Programs for Habitat for Humanity, Seminole, Apopka. And we're based right here in Seminole County. Our mission is very simple, to put God's love into action by bringing people together to build homes, community, and hope. At Habitat, we believe that a safe, affordable home can change everything. It gives families stability, confidence, and a chance to build a better future. And what makes it all possible is all this partnership. So I'm really glad to be here because I believe that when we work together, we really build more than homes. We build hope. And right now, the community needs hope more than anything.
Hi, my name is Christine Schaefer. I'm the Director of Shelter Services at Rescue Outreach Mission. We're located in Sanford in the historic Goldsboro community. I am the Director of Shelter Services there, which pretty much means, I don't know, I work with Chris a lot. And keeping the doors open. So we're a 24-hour-a-day facility. We have upwards of 120 guests each night that are coming into shelter, and tonight we will have that upwards because it is going to get cold. So we serve men, women, and children, all experiencing homelessness, and our mission is to ensure that every guest that's coming through our doors has safe shelter and a pathway to a home.
Hi everyone, my name is Jillian Orlman from Seminole County Public Schools Families in Need program, which is Seminole County Public Schools Homeless and Foster Care Education Program, formerly FIT, Families in Transition. So our goal really, our mission is to ensure that students, no matter the background, what they're going through in their home environment, or what instability, that they can be successful in school, that they can walk the graduation stage and open opportunities. We are seeing a huge increase with our families in need. However, so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah Del Moral. I am the Director of Programs for the Sharing Center, which means I oversee 5 pivotal programs that directly impact our community. Our mission statement is, through Christ, we provide dignified solutions to those experiencing homelessness and poverty. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'm going to kick it off with some questions. I'll direct them to you all individually, and then there may be some who will have those who would like to respond, just respond. So we'll start off with Patricia. There have been some questions about what similar nonprofits do and the need for nonprofits to have overlapping or duplicative services. Can you give Hope's opinion on why duplication happens in the county and why or why not it's a good thing?
Yes, thank you. And as you'll learn today, if you're not already aware, there are several overlapping services amongst our agencies here at the table. And Hope's view is it's a good thing. As far as we are all only as big as we are where we are, and if there's someone who is over in Altamont or Longwood and they're hungry, asking them to drive all the way over to Oviedo to our food pantry, that's not realistic. That's not helpful for them. And so one of the huge perks of having duplicative services is this expanding the outreach, the impact to the neighborhoods, to the community. It helps to reduce barriers, increase access to the benefits. Another benefit is there's different models out there, and some models work for one type of crisis better than for another. And so having options means you can go and get the services that are best directed to your needs rather than having to fit into one box and that's the only option, you either do or you don't. And then also as well, as unfortunately we've been experiencing lately, funding is a mixed bag depending on where you're getting it from. And having multiple programs who have different models and different sources of funding means if one is being impacted maybe by something going on in the world, maybe another one is able to step up and still meet that need for the community. So there's a great benefit to having duplicative services, but also not necessarily identical services out there because the needs are very wide. And we want to make sure as a county, as an area, that we are supporting everyone in need, not just one person in a box.
Awesome, thank you, thank you. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that? I know that was really thorough, so I appreciate it. If not, I have a question for Deborah. With changing economic times, some organizations may struggle with meeting their own budget, being able to help families adequately. Can you give an example of a partnership or shared resources helping an individual or family?
Well, I think the Sharing Center partners with just about everyone because as Patricia mentioned, the services that we cannot provide to someone who's close or far away from us, we can always refer to someone else. At this table alone, we partner with all because they will call us. As I mentioned, we have 5 pivotal programs, so that includes a pantry, that includes a workforce development program, as well as the prevention program and a drop-in center for those experiencing homelessness. So partnership is really important. We could not do this work without partnering with everyone.
And so staying along those same lines as partnerships and referrals, I know many of you use the Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS. By show of hands, how many of you actually? Okay, about half the panel. So, Christine, your hand did just go up, right? Yes. Okay. Can you describe how HMIS helps communications among other nonprofits?
Sure. So HMIS is a great system for us to kind of all see which clients are getting which services and the things that they've already accessed. So the number one thing for us when someone is coming into shelter, seeking shelter, I can see have they already accessed additional resources to prevent their homelessness. And by that, I'm able to see, okay, they've already spoken with the Sharing Center, they've gotten resources there, maybe they've got some rental assistance along the way. And I'm able to see the notes on where their history is and what caused their homelessness. Because the biggest thing for us as well is when we are trying to assist someone with resolving their homelessness, we need to also know what caused it. So whether it's a loss of income, sometimes if someone lost their income because of transportation, where did that issue start? Is your car payment way too high? Do we need to look at alternative modes of transportation? All of those things come into effect when you're looking for a resolution, because when we resolve someone's homelessness, we don't want to have a situation where they're going to be temporarily housed again. We want to make sure that that is a permanent location for them, and any barriers that had arisen that caused their homelessness the first time have been resolved for this second episode. But HMIS is a fantastic way for all of us to kind of see what resources the clients have already accessed and what they're currently accessing. It avoids a lot of that double dipping to where they're not going to be able to get services everywhere. But then it also allows us to see where they've been. So if they're very transient, we can see that they've gone all the way from Osceola County over to Seminole County. They're back in Orange, and we're able to kind of have that communication across county lines.
Thank you. I'm going to pivot to Jillian, because I know with the school board and working with students, sometimes there are limitations in terms of what information can be shared and how it can be shared. So I know you all do not use HMIS in that way. So how do you all leverage partnerships, conduct referrals, and that sort of thing, since you're not using that system?
That's a great question, and as much, well, I never worked with HMIS, but I think we come from a unique perspective because we are here to serve all of our students and their families. So in a sense, there's no time that we would ever really turn down a family or student who is in Seminole County Public Schools, and so it kind of allows us a blind view of maybe their circumstance. And what I will say is a lot of times the situations with our families come up from sources within the schools. So is a student truant? Are they missing school constantly? And once we dig deeper, we see, oh my gosh, they just have to leave their housing and now they're living temporarily at a hotel. And so that allows us on that front to see what their housing situation is. That's maybe a little bit more different than some of my partners here where the family's coming directly to them for resources. So sometimes we're the ones kind of finding out through our educational-based reasons. Their grades plummeted, they're acting out in school, and really when we dig deeper, we see, something's going on in the home environment. But within not working with HMIS, it doesn't limit us at all because, like Deborah said, I work very closely with all these staff right here at this table. For example, recently, I'm not sure if you all know, but over in Altamont area, there was a hotel apartment complex, pretty much all hotels. Used to be called Remington, it's now rebranded Altamont Terrace Apartments. But they recently, many of our families live there and attend Sable Point, they attend Millie and Lyman High School, and they condemned multiple of those buildings. And the second that happened, we were on a text email chain, we were calling each other, everyone here was on that group to say, what are we doing? Can these families, many of them went to the shelter, some of them went to nearby hotels. So that's never been a barrier, but it sometimes allows us a fresh viewpoint to say, you know what, although the family might have double dipped, if there's something we can do, even if it just means from the food pantry from one of our school sites, we're going to help. Not saying these other staff members wouldn't, but we just say, what's the students need? How can we help? And like Dr. Johnson said, our community has needs, and sometimes that's forgotten. We're thought of as high income, but what I will say is every single one of our schools in Seminole County has at least one, and many of them have more than 10, 20, 30 students experiencing homelessness and foster care. So, we just try to meet the families where they're at, see what their needs they have, and try to connect from there.
Thank you. So I know it's interesting looking at the organizations represented here. I see organizations that are helping people stay in their homes. There are folks helping people who are in crisis right now and experiencing homelessness, whether that's living with a family member or actually outside somewhere. And then, of course, we have organizations like Habitat that are really helping folks look at long-term solutions and eventually own homes. So I know that you all also don't use HMIS, but I would like to hear from you. How is it that you all conduct referrals and partner with other folks in the similar way that's been discussed here?
Yes, we don't use HMIS, but basically we keep the relationship with the other nonprofit, like everyone on this table, and we try to stay connected to find out what's available out there for our home buyers. So basically we're trying to help our home buyers get resources to stretch the money to make it go further, and everyone on this table is able to do that in one way or another. So just having that communication lines open at all time, what's going on. I just met with Deborah, she's telling me about her grant. I met with Early Learning Coalition. We just all work together and make sure that the lines are always open as far as what's coming down the pipe, what do they have, what resources are available, and then we connect our home buyers with those resources to help them stretch their income and just be ready and be more stable.
And I'll stick with, did you want to add? Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to add to that. So recently, we obtained a grant through TD Bank for those who have mortgages. Most of our clients are renters. So we connected with Habitat for Humanity to let them know with the furlough going on with many of our state's employees to come to us. We can help them out to pay their mortgage so that they don't lose their homes. That's in our prevention area. If you know of anyone who needs those resources, please send them to us.
Thank you. And sticking on housing, so two things. The second question might be more philosophical, but like the first question, what specific types of services from Habitat standpoint do you think really help lead to someone being able to get into affordable housing? And then the second question, which is sort of related, is what's Habitat's vision for the future of affordable housing in Seminole County?
So partnerships is at the heart of Habitat, and as we mentioned, everyone at this table brings something. We all have different capacity, And the best resources that we can offer is when we're able to continue the stabilization of our home buyers by stretching, as I mentioned, their pay. And the resources on this table help stretch the income of our home buyers. But not only that, but we can partner together and we can go, as we went to the rescue mission and just bring there the financial literacy program. We also partner up with the Early Learning Coalition where they wrote a grant and we were able to partner with them for the Financial Academy. Those graduates of the Financial Academy got funded from the Early Learning Coalition, and guess what? They used that funding to go ahead and pay off some of the debt that they had on their credit card, which opened up some more of their income, and also help increase their credit score by paying off all debt. So those partnerships where we come together and we just lift up the client and help them have some stability. As far as the vision, we just see it that we hope to expand affordable housing, affordable homeownership, and revitalize the neighborhood and preserve housing so families can stay in the community longer. Right now we're working with Seminole County, and a lot of our home buyers homeowners are probably going with the insurance situation that's going that they have to have a new roof within 15 years. But there's resources available in Seminole County that can help pay a new roof for a family right now in this situation. So just taking advantage of those resources that are there and letting our homeowners and our home buyers that there's resources that can help, because a lot of times people don't know because they don't know what's out there. So we just spread the word out there that yeah, there's people out there that are helping, and there's resources out there that can help stretch that income.
Something that we're seeing in Seminole County Public Schools is calls from families that have never been in this situation before. And I'm sure you all have too, especially with what you just mentioned with mortgage help, where, for example, I recently had one of our school counselors, certified school counselor, master's level professional, 2-parent household, both parents working, but they had a flood in their home and it just ravaged pretty much 75% of their home. They could only use 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, thus not allowing them to cook any home-cooked meals. And so at that time, we were able to identify them as, unstable housing because, they couldn't even use their kitchen. One of the resources within our program is automatic free lunch. So that really that little bit helped every week for her son at Carolina Elementary to receive, no pay for lunch. And, it's just what we're seeing is that families who have never experienced hardship, they might not know where to go. They might not even know, what do I do now? I just had to move in with my sister. I know I'm across town. Can my students still stay at Lake Howell? That's a lot of what we do is stability and just seeing that more families are impacted.
And I'm about to throw something at you that we didn't discuss. I would agree. I think we see that at the Department of Health as well. Families, individuals that we wouldn't traditionally cast as someone in need. I say that in quotes, right? Would you all agree across the board that that's something you've noticed within your own organizations? And then also, if you do agree with that sentiment, are you all doing anything in particular to address this new look of what it means to be in need?
We definitely are seeing an increase in first-time visitors to our to Hope Helps, and I think the positive is our program has always been flexible in that we've been able to do mortgage assistance if eligible, in addition to rental and deposit and utility assistance. So we haven't had to necessarily change our model more. We're just seeing more people using one of the underused ways that we do provide assistance, and just a lot of people coming in and just saying, I don't even know where to start. And our philosophy is find the yes. So even if maybe they're not quite a fit for what our services are directly, then we're going to connect them with one of our people, and we have case managers that will just sit down and figure out, okay, this is what's going on, this is what your needs are. They don't even know what resources are. Constantly I'm like, have you told your school they have a lot of, your child doesn't have to miss that field trip. Talk to Finn and talk to the school, because and so it's just a lot of really lost people saying, I don't even know where to begin, and we're finding a lot more time spent helping to educate them on the resources that already exist in the community.
I definitely agree with that. What I can say too is the things that we're seeing now, things that you wouldn't normally think of, but my staff are actually clients of pretty much everybody at this table. They either have been, will be, or are currently. And I know we're going to talk about SNAP here soon, but all of my staff, they're the ones that are affected by SNAP benefits currently. They are the ones that are in need of rental assistance. They're the ones that are couch surfing because their rent went up. And it's not because they're not paid a wage that is above minimum wage, because it is, but minimum wage is too low. And if it goes up, can we afford as an organization to continue to pay that rate either? So that's kind of where the economy is hitting everyone hard. We've been seeing it for a while now. And we'll continue to see that. Last year we had 733 people walk through the door, and this year at the end of October it was already over 1,000. So we're seeing the effects, even though we know that there's more to come.
And I'll add to that, we normally see in our pantry about 30 families per day. Friday at 10:30, we had already seen 78. So the need is growing. But the beauty of that is that Seminole County, people here have huge hearts, and we reached out, and our pantry shelves are full thanks to you. So thank you. When we put the call out there, you guys responded, and that's important. So thank you.
And if I could add one thing, once upon a time, the people who needed help all lived in one neighborhood. And if you went into a new neighborhood, it didn't take you long to find out what that neighborhood was. And that no longer exists. Now that person lives next door. That person is sitting in a pew next to you at church. And when you ask them how they're doing, the answer is always the same. We're okay. We're doing fine. Or you may hear, well, there are people who need it worse than you. When the truth is, if you need help, no one needs it worse than you.
Thank you for sharing that. And you know what? Oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to say we have also seen a big increase on the call to a housing counselor, where people trying to work on their budget and seeing how they can stretch their money because things are tight. So we have seen a great upcall of people, hey, can I schedule an appointment? I need help. Can you help me? Look at my budget. Where can I save? Where can I cut? Because they're in such need.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that, everyone. Walton, I'm actually going to stay with you as one of the nonprofits that help with employment services. I was just wondering, from your perspective, could you point out some of the most valuable partnerships or resources that help assist Christian Health with connecting those types of employment opportunities, resources?
Absolutely. As you've heard so far, how often the people on the panel say they talk to each other. We know each other, we see each other, and if we had to depend upon the government, then it just wouldn't take place. We have to be able to refer people to each other. An example, some of our most valuable partners are Career Source of Central Florida, but also Hope Helps. Hope Helps will help someone with a resume or help people get started in terms of their job search and whatever. They may refer them to us, where we may do one-on-one coaching and connect them through our Central Florida Employment Connection, which runs our job fair. Last one, we had over 80 employers, over 1,500 people who went through that job fair. I went through that job fair 17 years ago. And so the partnerships are absolutely essential to our success. On one hand, we may get a referral where a person is at one level, we're then able to take them to another level. We may then be able to refer them to Career Source, where they actually get training and some help with their job force. But people are needing more than just simply a job nowadays. People need to be able to get some direction. They need to be able to get some tools to go along with that job. And so they need wraparound services. And by referring people, we're able to do so and have people referred to us.
As a follow-up question, again, something we did discuss, but do you see a difference by age? So for individuals coming in seeking help that are maybe mid-year or midlife professionals versus someone that's toward the beginning of their career, do you see a difference in the type of help that they're seeking and how you all address that?
Well, what we're finding right now is not so much the young, but we are starting to see that the older people are now experiencing something they did not have to experience before. They used to be the darling of the landlord because they paid their rent on time every month. But then people started to move from this area from other jurisdictions where they were paying maybe 3 times as much for the same apartment. Now the landlord tells you at the end of your lease, as a senior, I'm raising your rent $300 a month. Well, the truth is, unless you're in commission sales, we're all on a fixed income. You may get a raise in January. You're going to wait till next January for your next raise. And that next raise may be called, you get to keep your job. Okay? And so what we're finding is our older people now don't have the ability to change their income. Okay? And now they're experiencing a hard time. And again, the people who we are serving have work, have a job. Okay? We live in the hospitality zone. So now we're finding that Dad works at Disney 8 to 4, and then he goes over to Universal and he works to 6 to 2 in the morning. It used to be Mom could go and get a job to supplement the income, but now Mom is making $12 an hour and daycare is running about 16. It doesn't pay. So we're starting to see the whole gamut of people. And because we are doing one-on-one career coaching, it's not a cookie cutter effect. We're able to do an assessment, find out where people, where their experiences lie, find out what their urgency is, which is a very important thing. And then we're able to assign them a coach and then work with them each step of the way towards success.
And I can really appreciate the way that you describe that because the impact of someone who's an older adult maybe re-entering the workforce or deciding to stay in the workforce longer, it does impact the other end. So grandparenting has to be done differently than it was generations ago, right? So childcare is already more expensive, but it's also more utilized than it was, right? So it's all connected. I appreciate that response.
I'm going to add one more thing.
Yes, sir.
And that is that you got a job at Lockheed when you were 21, and you stayed there 15 years. Okay, it doesn't have to be Lockheed. But now all of a sudden, you've been downsized, or you've been doged, okay? And you haven't had to look for a job for 15 or 20 years. You used to put on your suit and get your resume and go out there knocking on doors. But now the employer doesn't want to see you. He doesn't want you knocking on his door. And he's not interested in your resume. He wants you to go online and fill out an application online so that AI can read, okay? And AI is not to include you. AI is designed to eliminate all that the HR doesn't have to look at. So it's a whole brand new ball game, this idea of looking for a job. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. So at the Sharing Center, we have Project Rise. That's our workforce development program. And it's been there for 2 years. So one of the things I do is evaluate my programs and find out what my gaps are. And so just today, I was speaking to Britt, and I was saying, you know what, we need to tweak our program a little bit more, where we train everyone in emotional intelligence and workforce development skills, which may feed into that one little piece where, you know, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to answer these questions. And then once they graduate our program, do a warm handoff to Britt, so then they can take it from there, because that's what they specialize in. They're the ones that have the connections to the employers. So understanding your scope of service in a partnership is very, very important. You know, we would love to do everything for everyone, but understanding where you're a master and being able to say, you know what, this other organization does this better than us, let's do the warm handoff, and then together we can follow that person and make sure that they succeed.
Thank you. And not a bad segue to the next question, because this question is for everyone. I'm wondering, are there any specific challenges, or maybe I should say, what is the greatest challenge in your mind in terms of being a barrier to partnership or collaboration? And anyone can answer that.
Deborah said if anybody got quiet, she was going to defer to me. So I would say we all do such a great job at partnering. I would say we don't really have a big barrier to our partnerships other than funding. There's going to be times where Deborah calls and says, hey, do you have shelter for someone? And I say, oh, sorry, no, we're already over capacity and people are pouring out the doors. There's always going to be a time where I call Patricia and say, hey, do you have rental assistance for this person? She's like, sorry, I'm capped. So funding is always going to be one of our biggest barriers. I think everyone here at the table does a great job of making sure that we're funding what we can fund and using our funds responsibly. There is an application process for everyone when it comes to funding, and we're all talking about, hey, have they already tapped into another resource before? So that's, again, where HMIS is going to be a great use. And for people that don't use HMIS, we have those phone calls and conversations and say, hey, did you already give this person funds? Or, yes, I've given them funds before. How much are you looking at giving them? Or if it's a situation where I can only give 1,000, I'll call Patricia and say, hey, I can't pay for this. Can you pay for this? And that's 200, but I can only pay 1,000. We can take care of it this way. Because let's be honest, when someone's moving out into a unit, they need first, last security to move out, and the rent's already $1,200. So where are they going to get that money? If they've been in our shelter only for 30 days, they didn't make it right then. And the sooner we can get them out of shelter, the sooner we can bring somebody else in for shelter, because Jillian's got an entire roster full of people that need shelter. So the only way that we can continue to operate is to work responsibly with funding and to partner with everyone in the community as much as we can. I would say our biggest need too is we need more community activists and partners. So for all of you, please hire our clients, please house our clients, please go out and speak our messaging and let everyone know that hey, there are community partners or community organizations out here that can assist these people, and they have resources. Refer people to us, and we'll figure out where to take it from there.
Yes, ditto to what she said. Yeah, definitely, I agree. That's why we were so slow to respond, is because we really do work really well together. Thinking of barriers to working together there's not an obvious answer, but I think, again, the challenge is the resources, whether it's funding or jobs or, affordable housing. We're trying to help the people, but if those resources don't exist in the community for us to work together to connect them to them, then, we're all of our hands are tied a little bit. And so definitely being a part of that solution, we need beyond just the nonprofits, we need the whole community supporting the missions of these nonprofits.
How often throughout the week do you all speak to either one another or another nonprofit not represented here?
We have a group chat. It's on a regular basis. It depends on what's going on in the community, what the needs are. I'd say when the Altamont Terrace thing hit, we probably talked to each other 6 times that day. Yes, it's a good week, and it's maybe once every other day. But I'll guarantee cold weather's here. It's not coming anymore. It's here. So we'll have communications daily.
And I think that's important to know just in the group, because I think there might be a perception that for some reason Hope doesn't know what Rescue is doing, or that, I don't know why someone would assume that necessarily, but I think it's important to know how connected these organizations are across the county. So thank you for that. Let's see, you kind of answered, so this is a pie in the sky question. Are there things you would want but don't have the resources to do? Or if you had I won't say unlimited resources, but realistically, you were fully funded, what is it that your organization would be doing?
For us, housing more people and preventing more people from becoming homeless.
One of the things that we would do is stretch out from our footprint. There are a lot of people who cannot come to us. There are seniors who are in nursing homes or facilities. They're not mobile. Services that used to be provided for them no longer providing those services. Job searches. In some cases, we need to go where they are. And so if we had the money, we had the resources, we probably would do more of reaching out into the community where people need help, but don't have the means to actually. Now, when we had COVID, everything went online. And so we were reaching people through the internet, but COVID's over. People need the personal touch. People need to be able to see someone and talk to them, feel compassion. Our organization is Christian Help. We are obligated to do things a certain way. The government is not a good partner of ours. Okay, they would want us to probably change our name. We're not going to do that. We would go out more and meet people where they are.
And we would expand, well, if you ever visit our facilities, we're a little tight over there, so we would expand just our space so that we could expand our programs. We do have dreams of, we're always trying to identify what are the barriers to prevent someone from being stably housed and self-sufficient. And, we've identified in addition to, employment and affordable housing, access to childcare and transportation. And so we would love to include some programs addressing that to support the families that we serve, our neighbors who need a little boost in those areas.
Likewise, we will continue to build more homes. We would continue to educate the community to bring more ready home buyers into the program. So just spread out the good work that we're doing, because the need is so big right now for housing, and it's like the land is so limited. If we had more resources and more money, we can purchase more land, we can build more homes, and we can help more people. So basically it's trying to not just help them with the housing, but also with getting them ready for whatever, whether it be with the housing or whether it be staying in an apartment. But financial literacy, just expanding that program and making it grow more so we can reach more people and just get them in a stable financial place that they can reach their dream, whether it be home ownership or whether it be that they continue in an apartment, but being able to be stable and just have that stability under their belt.
Definitely affordable housing, more shelter beds. I would say one of our biggest needs at this point too that I would want to focus on is our growing senior population. At this point, almost half of our population is either over 65 or under 18. And that's not something anybody wants to see. So we really need to focus on affordable housing for seniors, making sure that they have the right type of housing, because having a conversation with a senior that has always lived in their own home and unfortunately their spouse passes and now they don't have the income to sustain anymore, bringing them into shelter where they've never even dreamed of being, and they were probably a donor to a shelter at one point in time, to bring them there and say, hey, you either gotta go get a job or find a roommate, figure out what you're gonna do. That's heartbreaking. It's too much weight for somebody. And then when we talk about mental health conditions and they say, the number of people that are experiencing homelessness and the mental health conditions that they have, you'd be depressed too if I'm having that conversation with you. So those are the things that we've really got to look at, conversations that we truly and honestly have to have, because what kind of society are we if we are not caring for our seniors, the people that already carried us through all of the tragedies that we've experienced in all of our lifespan, and now we're saying, hey, figure it out. That's not fair, and that's not the type of community that I would want to live in. So definitely senior housing, working with people with mental health and disabilities. They do have different challenges, they do have different needs for housing. Just throwing them into an apartment and saying best of luck, that's not going to prevent their homelessness in the future. They are going to have additional challenges.
And to conclude everything everyone has said, definitely I will say just bolstering up our partners here, because we are the school district and we know, like you mentioned, this is our lane, is education, making sure our students are in classrooms. But what is huge for me, and this is my 7th or 8th year in the program, is identification. because I always say that we don't know what a student's going through and about their housing, and we don't know. You know, we don't know why maybe a 11th grader, Sammy, is seeming sad all the time, not coming to school. Maybe his parents kicked him out, and right now he's having to couch surf and navigate life on his own. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. When I started, we were identifying about 1,500 students in homeless. Not that's a good thing, but at least they're on our radar. Last academic year, we identified 3,600 students experiencing homelessness. And so every year we do reset to allow families the opportunity to let us know their housing. We're already this year at 2,472 identified students. And while that is very depressing and I lose sleep over it, it at least allows us to know that maybe that is why Sammy's missing school. Maybe that is why this student, is seeming withdrawn. Maybe, that is it is a way for us to step in and provide help and resources. Of course, staffing, funding. At one point I wrote a grant for the American Rescue Plan, and we were able to hire on 2 full-time social workers, and those staff members were in our high-need high schools working directly with our unaccompanied homeless youth, which is not even a population I spoke about, but those are students that are navigating life essentially on their own. So, but really just making sure that my partners here have support, because it allows our students to be successful.
Excellent. And the last question that I wanted to ask for you guys is I was actually going to ask about the impact to the changes with SNAP and how that, but you all have really addressed that a few different times. So instead I wanted to ask a question around impact. So I know that as a nonprofit, even as a government entity, you are required to demonstrate how you're moving the needle, what type of impact are you actually having. So I would like, as summarized as you could make it, if you had, just like a minute, what is that top line item that you want everyone to know that the organization that you're working for, this is the impact that we've had, this is how the needle has moved within the last 12 months, and maybe if you can, how has your partnerships and your communications within the community, how has that helped you achieve that? And you don't have to go in any order, but whoever feels like they've got a...
So I will talk to 3 of my programs, and I will start with my pantry. This past year, we served over 40,000 individuals, of which 14,000 were children. In our prevention program, we served over 20,000 individuals, of which 9,987 were children. And in our mental health program, we went from 660 sessions the previous year to 1,115 sessions. And I say that because with everything that is happening, we have to take into consideration the mental health. As Christine mentioned, just having these conversations is highly triggering. So we want to be able to support our families with that. So if a family comes into any of our programs for any reason, whether it be to just pick up a bag because you're homeless and you need a to-go bag of food, you now have access to free mental health. And I want everyone to know that, especially Jillian and her families, because that 11-year-old Sammy, he could probably benefit from speaking to my therapist, just to unload. Doesn't mean that they have to have a diagnosis, but having someone that you know that you can have a conversation in a safe space is huge. So those are my numbers.
So for our programming, we operate under, of course, federal grants. And so our main thing is identification, attendance, and then academic achievement, which we are tracking year by year for our McKinney-Vento grant. And so what I will say is our identification continues to increase, which just means we are reaching more families, we're providing services. But on the more important attendance and academic achievement, we are performing higher and better than our neighboring counties and many other counties in the state of Florida in serving our students experiencing homelessness and in foster care. Over 80%, making it to the next grade level, and I can get further data if you all would like it broken down. But every year we are meeting and exceeding what is expected from the state, and it is always our goal to over-exceed to ensure that in Seminole County they have a free, appropriate public education and the best in the state.
So our goal at the shelter is permanent housing. So we've already housed about 200 clients that have come through our doors through shelter and then have gotten permanent housing once they've left. One of the things that is most important to us is making sure, obviously, that they have access to some of these resources to make sure that, again, they don't become homeless at the end of that. We are also making sure that each night our beds are at the most capacity that they can be, so making sure that we're not having to, what we would call, divert someone from shelter, making sure that the clients are getting the appropriate access, so if they are ineligible for our services one way or another, or not prioritized, I would say. So if I've got a line of Seminole County clients, I'm not bringing someone in from Lake, so Lake County person would then be diverted to another community partner as well to make sure that they're still getting access to services. We are tracking our referrals and things as well. I think we're at over 2,000 referrals made so far this year, and that does not count the ones that have come through that were diverted. So we're trying to ensure that we're moving in the right direction. I would say we're at about 40% success rate for our clients that are coming through shelter to being housed. I'd say on average about 30% is what is known as like a good number for a shelter. So consistently staying at that 40%. But again, we have clients that are coming through that are seniors, clients that have high medical needs, clients that have mental health needs. I'd say we have about 12 right now that immediate housing is probably not going to be an option at this point, and they're going to hang out for a little bit until we can figure out which resources will be best for them. But again, that's those people that are coming through that have cancer and have nowhere to go, that are trying to get their treatments. People in wheelchairs and walkers that have low mobility, and getting a job is not an option, and Social Security is not going to cut it. So I think we joke sometimes in the shelter that it's, you know, playing matchmaker. Does anybody else in the shelter, do you feel comfortable living with anybody else that's here? There's 28 women in the dorm, just pick one. Which one do you like? And usually it's same sex, so we're not playing that kind of matchmaker. But it's great. They're able to kind of figure out roommates and where they're able to go from there. And that does take a little bit of time, but that's unfortunately the climate that we're living in with this company.
Well, we're seeing the same. What we ended up doing was revamping our education, and we have added mental health classes. So, and not only those classes were meant for our home buyers, we have opened it to the whole community. So anyone, it could be anywhere in Seminole County or anywhere in the country, all of our classes are online, and now we offer that to the whole community. We have become a HUD certified agency, so we're offering housing counseling to anyone that needs it. They can come in, make an appointment. We have also revamped our financial academy, where we're doing more. Last year alone, we did about 330 plus graduates that graduated from the financial academy, but the participation was much higher. Our classes, our foundation classes keep expanding, and the attendance has gone up. Last year, we housed 16 families were able to purchase a home. So basically, we keep trying to see what the community needs and trying to develop education classes to help the community meet those needs.
The numbers don't always tell the whole story, but we are proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Over the last year, we managed to put out over 1 million meals. We made sure that 350 to 400 children families got a Christmas blessing and toys for over 1,500 children. Our Christmas blessing is coming up again in January, around January 12th. We probably impacted close to 25,000 people through our Central Florida Employment Council, our job fairs, which happens 6 times a year. It's one of the largest job fairs in Central Florida. 80 to 100 employers, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people go through there, plus a job board that is there with 300 to 400 jobs there at all times at absolutely no charge. So we are doing more with about the same amount of money, okay? But again, because of our leadership, we've been able to get more out of what it is that we're doing, and we have plans to continue to do so.
Yes, it's so hard in some ways to measure the impact, because just because you attend, an event or a service, calculating how did that truly impact you, it can be immeasurable at times. We often hear that some people tell us, yeah, thanks for helping me with food and with my rental assistance, but just how you treated me and the hope you gave me and things like that. That's not a quantifiable way of the impact. But I know for all these agencies, just having a place to go and how you feel you're treated and the respect and the dignity you're given in your struggle, sometimes that impact is much greater than any of the numbers game, so to speak. But within that, obviously our first and foremost mission is keeping people housed or helping them find housing if they lack it. And so 93% of those we helped last year in 2024 remained stably housed after working with us. So we're very, very proud of that, because we worked really hard. Because not only do we give them that assistance, but we also try to follow up with them and say, hey, if you're starting to struggle again, call us before it gets too bad so we can help you so that you don't lose your housing again. So we're very proud of that. In the pantry, we served a value of over 1,500,000 of food distributed last year, which was to over 13,500 households. So, I'm sorry, services to them. Some of those are duplicate households, but if you count how many times they came, that's what it was. So we're reaching the community, they're coming, the neighbors, and that's what I think is wonderful because of the collaboration. If somebody has a need, they're finding out where to go and they're accessing the services, and that's what we're hearing. But just now, as Dr. Johnson mentioned, there's a whole new population needing their services who's never paid attention to that before. And so that is something that we're all kind of doing our best and chatting up with each other on how do we support. There was already a large need, and now how do we support that greater need?
Yeah, thanks so much for that. And I think you made that's a really insightful point of view. And the time I've spent with a lot of you in the room and some of you all, to be a leader in this space, you have to be a good storyteller. And as you mentioned, it's not all in the numbers. That doesn't really tell the story. As Welton just mentioned, you were a recipient of help from Christian Help. At the Vision of Hope this past week, we just saw videos of people talking about their experience. And I know that I've been to a couple of ribbon cuttings of Habitat, so the story for everyone. You all have those types of experiences, and I think that's really important to highlight, to elevate for all of us in this room, because we really appreciate the work that you all are doing in these organizations. So before we end, we do want to leave a little bit of time for questions. I do ask that you keep the questions as brief as possible. Try to get right to your point, just so we get as many as we can in there. We got a mic going around.
Oh, I don't want a mic. I'm from Orlando, Orange County, and this is directed to Christine. You have a shelter, and I am thrilled with what you say, that you do keep people from being homeless. And homelessness is a big issue for every single city, town, whatever, throughout the country. We've been dealing with building a shelter, and it's been turned down for many times. Is Seminole County thinking of doing what Orange has done with the buses? That's number one. And number two, about building a building for the homeless, because we still have the peddling on the streets. And my concern is their safety, and that's my main concern, is their safety.
Okay, so that's kind of like a three-parter. Sorry, you're good. So as far as the buses are concerned, I don't think that we're going to be moving in that direction in Seminole County. While it is a fast way to set up a shelter and it's very versatile as far as you can move it, it's on our sense, a little costly to operate as compared to how we can operate our shelter beds. And it doesn't quite account for people with disabilities. Can you imagine a kid on a bus with a person that, you know, has some severe mental health issues and they're stuck on the bus with 20 people in the bus? Those are kind of the things that we're thinking about, but it's a great, fast way to do a pop-up, and we're continuing to follow Orlando's achievements and kind of see, you know, how that works out for them. I don't believe we're at a position right now where Seminole County would be opening another shelter. I think it would be great, but I don't believe that that's going to be something that's happening anytime soon. And if an idea sparks to where it does start to happen, again, it's not anything that's going to happen overnight. The need will definitely outweigh what we have for some time. And then your last question was in reference to panhandlers. So I will tell you that not all the panhandlers that you see are actually experiencing homelessness. Some of them do that professionally. I will tell you, when I'm driving around, if I see my clients out there, I will tell them to stop it. I will say, I fed you today, go back to the shelter, we're going to talk about a job. But those are the things that you kind of have to keep in mind when you're out and about. If you do feel like you need to give them something, give them a granola bar, some water. You can always give them information on all of our services here. They may not know about some of the services if they are actually homeless, or some of them may have already tapped into some of our services. But please, please, please don't give them money, because one, it will encourage the continuance of them being out there panhandling. But what we can do with $1 is so much greater than what a single person can do with $1. So please give to the organizations up here instead of panhandlers.
Thank you.
One of the things that has really been an issue, obviously, is the increased cost of everything. I was in real estate for 40 years, and I saw everything. I mean, homelessness, you know, the job crises that were involved in that, recessions, everything. Well, a year ago I retired, and it was mostly because I could no longer serve about 80% of the people of Seminole County in a very well-to-do area, trying to find even an average house for a young couple that was both working full-time was just about impossible. And I worked hard at it. And sometimes we would have to go to DeLand or Deltona or something else and get a little two-bedroom that was falling apart, and they would have to spend $10,000 in extra money to fix it up to make it livable again. So when you add that, but there always used to be a government backup. There used to be grant money. There used to be SNAP money. There used to be diversity and equity, but that's gone away too. So I mean, for everybody who is trying to make a living for themselves, they can't get housing. And the average rental in our area is $2,200 a month for a two-bedroom apartment. You almost have to be a big wage earner just to get that. So I'm not sure why we've gotten to this point, because it's happened gradually. It didn't happen overnight. But I mean, what future do we have if we don't demand from Washington and Tallahassee some degree of backup that allows the rich folk, and I'll be honest, most of the people in this room are not homeless, so that's why we're here trying to support your organizations. What can we do beyond just giving, which we were trying to do, but what can we do to be able to empower Washington and the people who represent us to represent us?
Advocate. That is all we can do, is advocate, continue advocating, because we need affordable housing, real affordable housing, especially for our folks that are living on fixed incomes. You know, what used to be 30% of your income going to housing is now 50, 55%. So, really advocate. And Christine, if you can add to that.
Advocate. That's it. I mean, honestly, spreading the message, letting everyone know what you've seen here, what we need, because there's times when our hands are tied and there's nothing that we can do.
we underestimate what we can get done in a year. As a nation, we are now, when it comes to politics and government officials and public servants, we are now selecting from the best of the two worst. We're never going to move ahead with accepting the least of the group. Our best and our brightest are not in the political arena. Okay? Our best and our brightest are not legislative. Our best and our brightest are not letting their caring attitude, okay, be a part of helping this society. And if we change our minds and decide that no, we don't want the least of, that we want the best of, we can get it done. Okay? I just so happen I worship a God that believes in possibilities, not limitations. But if we decide that we want the society to change, we can do so. It's not going to happen overnight. We've got to stop expecting it to. But it's amazing what can get done in a year or 2 years or 3 years.
Well, he said it better than I will, but it can easily feel a little hopeless and defeating. And we have been so incredibly encouraged just by the community support regarding the SNAP situation. And our doorbell doesn't stop ringing with donations all day long. I mean, it's beautiful how the community's coming together. And it's just a matter of believing we can do that on a bigger scale, you know, and speaking up in meetings like this with the people who have the power to make some of those changes as well. So we thank you for your concern and your interest in it and advocate like they both said.
I think we've got 3 more questions here. So 1, 2, 3.
Especially, I heard you all say you're serving more clients that maybe you haven't traditionally served, whether somebody's been furloughed or things like that, or just their housing rent is so high. So I know we hear this sometimes. How do you combat this? You know, where we hear donors say, well, I saw this kid, you know, getting a box of food and they had the brand new iPhone, or they had these, you know, great brand name sneakers. Like, do you guys hear that? And how do you address that when your donors or supporters bring up that conversation?
So I'd like to address this because we see that every day. You may see somebody pull up to the Sharing Center's pantry in a Tesla. However, what you don't know is that that was the last thing they were able to purchase before they lost their home. And now they're living in that Tesla. So the way I can address that is don't be quick to judge until you know the whole story. Because every number has a story behind it. And that's what we don't know. That's our job to find out what's the cause of the situation that that person is coming to us with. Empathy goes a long way, so does compassion. So practicing, practicing, practicing.
The children. I always just tell them that this is for the students. They didn't make the choice to maybe spend on shoes versus food, but a lot of times in the schools that she knows, of course, she's a wonderful supporter, but is we really see right then and there what the need is for the students, that they're coming in with, in times, ripped shoes, or they're coming in, I'm hungry, I didn't eat, you know. With little kids, you really know the truth. They tell you what's going on. So I always say when that does come up, you know, this is for the students, this is for the kids. And I will say there are times truly within my program where we know that maybe the parent is not going to spend the money wisely. For example, in a time where for another family maybe we offer a gift card. So many times we will buy the tangible items, make sure, you know, that they are receiving specifically those shoes, or they are receiving specifically a box of food. Whereas maybe for another family, we can provide a gift card. So there's times where we have to use that discretion as well, but I always put it back to for the kids.
Sorry, last thing. I was going to say, think about the economy too. BMW money last year is not the same as this year. So you're kind of in that situation where you've lost, either lost income or your expenses have increased so much that you have to now be in that line.
And my question kind of piggybacks off of what Jean said. There's a rumor that goes around that allegedly people who are receiving SNAP benefits or things of that nature aren't really the people who truly need them. There's supposedly a percentage of people who really aren't in need. And so similar to what Jean said, when you have clients that are coming in with the perception or the people are perceiving that they are either have finances to do things or aren't making good financial choices. What kind of measures do you have in place to making sure that the people that you're serving are truly the people in need and not just people looking to, I don't know what your term you used earlier, but continue to just receive things when they aren't truly in need?
Double tip, thank you. So I'll say, while all of us have some type of application process or some type of vetting process, when it comes to food, would you rather feed 4 people knowing that only one of them was hungry? And instead of not feeding anybody at all and letting that one go hungry? You've got to feed the people that are hungry. We can't withhold food.
And I'll add to that, we can't negate the fact that there are people that are going to abuse the system. That's just a fact, okay? But to Christine's point, we can't discriminate against anyone if someone comes to me and tells me, I'm hungry, and then they tell me, but I have 20 people in my house. I'm going to give them enough food for that. That's why we are a pantry. That's why we reach out to the community to assist us. We're not storing that or hoarding that food. That food, as soon as it comes in, it goes out. So we can't really make that call as to, hey, you look like you dressed pretty well today. I don't think you're hungry. Nah, we're just going to go to the next person that looks worse than you. No, we're going to give anyone who comes to our doors, regardless of what your situation is, we are not going to ask questions. You need food? We're going to give you food. If you come after 12, I may not be able to serve you the entire food cart, but I'll give you a bag of food and then come back tomorrow. So that's how we're handling it.
When I got my first management job, my boss sat me down and says, you're managing to the minimum. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you got 98 great people and you got 2 bums. And you spend all your time dealing with those 2 bums. Forget the 2 bums. Go work with the 90, the 98. Okay? And so we pretty much are here to provide for people in need. Well, we're trying to collect tuna, but there may be a couple of sharks in there. But we're not going to stop serving the tuna. Okay? If you get a close-up look at the people that we serve, not a lot of people scamming. It's not a lot of people that would go out of their way to lose a little bit of dignity to go stand in a line, okay? To get some box of macaroni, okay? And so we don't measure the minimum, okay? We know that at the end of the day, we were serving about 80 people about 2 months ago, 80 families. We're now at about 135 families a day, okay? Those aren't scammers, okay? Those are people. One last thing, and that is SNAP. It's going to get fixed. But the problem is that when SNAP gets fixed, a lot of people are going to think the whole system got fixed. No, even before there was a SNAP issue, you have people that are becoming unemployed in record numbers. Okay? There are people who the economy is affecting in record numbers. So when SNAP gets fixed, there's still going to be a line of people who are going to need help.
And just to add to Allison's question, like Christine said, we all have our application process or some sort of, registration process. But we are going to feed anybody who walks in. If we have food, we're going to feed them. Now, if somebody chooses to come regularly and get food from Hope, as part of our E for education, financial literacy is something really important to us. So we will ask them to attend a workshop because we want to say, okay, we're happy to serve you, but let's help you understand why are you needing us and is there anything we can do to help you not need us. So we're going to serve them food, but then we're also going to try to help educate them so that they don't continue needing us.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We want to give a round of applause for our time. I think if they're hanging out, you can still continue to ask questions afterwards. I'll turn it over to Lily.
Yeah, thank you guys so much to each of you for participating. This was awesome. And I think one big takeaway is just with this network of partners and other partners who aren't here today, we aren't going to let people fall. We'll always meet the need and always serve those who Thank you all so much.